Hello, beautiful world. Welcome back to Mrs. Leefatt Teach. On today's lesson, we are multiplying decimals by powers of 10. Now, multiplying a decimal by 10 increases the value of each digit by 10. When a digit's value is changed, that digit is moved to the right as many places as there are zeros in the power of 10. We have 4 examples on the board, okay? And we are going to go through each of them to see how we multiply decimals by powers of 10. Let's look at our first example. Our first example is 4 and 63 hundredths times 10 to the second power. And remember our lesson on exponents? 10 to the second power tells you how many times you have to multiply, right? The base number is used as a factor, okay? So we have 10 to the second power, which is the same as 10 times 10. So let's write down 10 times 10. And what's 10 times 10? That's right, 10 times 10 equals 100. So we're going to write down 100 right here. And we're going to write down our 4 and 63 hundredths times 100. So the 100 is going to tell you how many times we are going to move this decimal to the right. Okay? So how many zeros is in that number? That's right, 2 zeros. So how many times are we going to move that decimal point? Yes, we're going to move it 2 times, and the value is going to change, right? So 4 and 63 hundredths is going to move 2 times to the right. That's going to be 463. So we move this 1, 2. That's where the decimal ends up. And it gives us a whole number of 463. Let's try another example. Let's go over here to example number 2. We have 3 and 85 hundredths times 1,000. Now let's look at our 1,000. How many zeros do we have in that number? That's right, we have 3 zeros in that number. That will tell you how many times we have to move our decimal point to the right. Okay, so I'm going to write the number 3 and 85 hundredths, and let's move the decimal point to the right 3 times. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to put my 0 there, because remember, we're holding that place. So that will equal to 3,850. Okay? You see that? All right, so let's look at the third example. All right, 21 and 8 tenths times 100. How many zeros is in this 100? That's right, 2 zeros. So how many times do we have to move our decimal point? You said it right, 2 times. So let's write down our number 21 and 8 tenths. And let's move the decimal 2 times to the right. So that will be 1, 2. And we have to write our 0. Okay? And so our answer is going to be 2,180. Okay. And our last problem, let's go to our last problem. Our last problem is 3 6/10 times 10. How many zeros is in this 10? Okay, we only see 1 0, right? Okay, so that's the amount of times we are going to move our decimal point. So let's write down 3 6/10. Okay, how many times we have to move our decimals to the right? 1 time. So let's move our decimal. There's our decimal there. And this number is 36. Okay? So now let's review what we did. So we looked at our power of 10 and we looked to see how many zeros is in our 10, right? And it tells you how many times you have to move the decimal to the right. Now remember, the value is changed when you move that decimal, okay? It's not the same. So let's look at our first example. 4 63/100, when we move the 10 to the second power, told the decimal how many times to move, which was 2 times, right? So 2 times we moved 1, 2, because there's 2 zeros in that 100. All right? And when we moved it 2 times, our value changed from 4 63/100 to 463. So we are going to circle that final answer, right? The same thing with the other examples. This 1 multiplied by 1,000, that power of 10, it tells you that there's 3 zeros, okay, in that power of 10, and that's the amount of times that we move the decimal 3 times to the right, and we got the answer 3,850. And this power of 10, right, we have 2 zeros, and we moved the decimal twice, 1, 2, okay, and our answer was 2,180. And in the last example, the 10 had 1 0, and that told the decimal to move 1 time to the right, okay, and our final answer was 36, because we had 3 6/10 and we move it 1 time to the right, and we got 36. Is it a little bit clear now how we multiply decimals by powers of 10? The value changes when we move the decimal, and when a digit's value is changed, that digit is moved to the right as many places as there are zeros in the power of 10. Remember, multiplying a decimal by 10 increases the value of each digit by 10. Thank you so much for joining me in today's lesson. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day, world.